Hi everybody, welcome back. Let's jump right back into Genesis chapter 3. The fall of man. Now the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, Indeed has God said, You shall not eat from any tree of the garden. The woman said to the serpent, From the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat. But from the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden, God has said, You shall not eat, or you shall not eat it or touch it, or you will die. The serpent said to the woman, You surely will not die, for God knows that in that day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was delight to the eyes, and the tree was desirable to make one wise, she took from its fruit and ate. And she gave also to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loin coverings. They heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And the man and his wife hid themselves from his presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. Then the Lord God called to man and said to him, Where are you? He said, I hear the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself. And he said, Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded you not to eat? The man said, The woman whom you gave to me to be with me, she gave me from the tree, and I ate. Then the Lord God said to the woman, What is this you have done? And the woman said, The serpent deceived me, and I ate. The Lord God said to the serpent, Because you have done this, cursed are you more than all cattle, and more than every beast of the field. On your belly you will go, and dust you will eat all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and woman, and between your seed and her seed. He should bruise you on the heel, and he shall bruise you on the head, and you shall bruise him on the heel. To the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. In pain you will bring forth children, yet your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. Then to Adam he said, Because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten from the tree about which I commanded you, saying, You shall not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you will eat of it all the days of your life. Both thorns and thistles it shall grow for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you will eat bread till you return to the ground, because from it you were taken. For you are dust, and to dust you shall return. Now the man called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all the living. The Lord God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed them. Then the Lord God said, Behold, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. And now he might stretch out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him out from the Garden of Eden to cultivate the ground from which it was taken. So he drove the man out, and the east of the Garden of Eden he stationed the cherubim and the flaming swords, which turned every direction to guard the way of the tree of life. Let's go inside the text. At the end of verse 1, we've gotten our first mention of the serpent. The word means snake. The Apostle John identified this creature as Satan, as did Paul. The serpent, a manifestation of Satan, appears for the first time before the fall of man. The rebellion of Satan, therefore, had occurred sometime after chapter 1, verse 31, when everything in creation was good, but before 3:1. And there's some reference points that'll be inside of here. And this is the great things about the study Bible. It gives you sources to be able to find things throughout in other parts of the Bible. It gives you multiple descriptions of what possibly Satan was. There are many different names for him as well, but this is the first mention of him. And let's see, we're going to go to verse 4. Satan, emboldened by her openness to him, spoke this direct lie. This lie actually led her and Adam to spiritual death and separation from God. So this is why he was cursed. Satan is called a liar and a murderer from the beginning of what we know. If we scroll down to verse 7, we realize there's the innocence noted in 2:5 had been replaced by guilt and shame. So we can already see a transition of feeling shame for the sin that they committed. One other thing that I wanted to point out was that is in verse 15, as he's cursing the serpent, after cursing the physical serpent, God turned to the spiritual serpent, the lying seducer Satan, and cursed him. Bruise you on the heel, bruise you on the head, bruise him on the heel. This first gospel is prophetic of the struggle and its outcome between your seed, Satan, and unbelievers who are called the devil's children in John 8, and her seed, which began in the garden. In the midst of the curse passage, the message of hope shone forth of the woman's offspring, called he is Christ. So we've got references to the future when Christ will come, and this is the second coming when Christ comes back to reclaim. You'll bruise him on the heel, he'll bruise you on the head. So it's just giving you, there's references from this from the very beginning of prophetic that has a time that hasn't happened yet. Of course, we're all waiting for Christ's return. This is listed out in verse 17. Adam listened to Eve. We're seeing the first breakdown from when Adam was placed on the earth and Eve was his helper. And at this point, there's a reversal of roles to where she came with a decision and led him. So we see the beginning of the downfall. You'll also notice later on that they talk about the garments they made. This is very symbolic. One, they felt shame. So in their shame, they wanted to be covered, to feel the way they felt before. When it shows that God made their coverings for them, in this point, they're using the flesh of another animal. So this is symbolic of when there's sin, there had to be a sacrifice. There had to be an atonement for the sin. And the garments that were made for Adam and Eve were the first sacrifice. So we see from the very beginning, within our first 3 chapters, we've actually had an appearance of Christ. We've seen the result of sin. We've met Satan already. And these are the things that are coming together and that will transition throughout the entire Bible. That's a wrap up for chapter 3. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you back for chapter 4.